I forgot to hit unmute. Nothing lasts forever. even cold November rain. So happy November, everybody. But you know what does last forever? The Resistance broadcast. We're here forever. We're like post nuclear war cockroaches. We go nowhere.
Or Twinkies.
Yeah, or Twinkies. Right.
That's actually more enjoyable.
Or a cough that you get at the beginning of winter and lasts all winter.
Or Twinkie.
That's a big Twinkie. Welcome everybody to the show. It is TRB live, and we are so excited because it is that time of year. We do this seasonally. It is time for the fall edition of the State of Star Wars. Could get a little spicy, who knows? But we are going to talk about our thoughts on the state of our favorite movie franchise. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm John, that's James, that's Lacey, and we have a great show in store for you today. So first off, before we get into anything, I just want to say thank you to everybody who happens to be joining us live. I already see someone has sent in a super chat. If you would like your comment read on the show, or if you have a question, you want it vaulted right to the front, we'll talk about it, comment on it. We have super chats available. Also, just so you know, we will be doing Ask the Resistance later in the show. Those are for standard comments, super chats, whatever. But if you do put a comment that you want used as a question later in the show, just use hashtag Ask the Resistance so we know that you're opting into that. So thank you for that. And for listening, watching, being a part of what we're doing here. Thank you all, whether you're new, old, whatever. Thank you. We appreciate it very much. And make sure you are subscribed to us on any audio podcast app. We have 2 episodes every week, or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@the-resistance broadcast. And we also have a Patreon, patreon.com/resistance broadcast. If you'd like to support us, tier start at $5. James and Lacey, how are we doing? How was Halloween?
Halloween was good. We had a crazy snowstorm the first 15 minutes.
I saw Bennett was Yoshi.
Yeah.
Nintendo's Yoshi.
Yep.
Were you
gets into
Mario?
Character.
Did you do anything?
No, we didn't do anything. But
that's good.
He gets into character for sure.
Nice. So he was swallowing giant eggs whole?
No, he just doesn't say anything except for Yoshi.
Nice. Very good. Lacey, did you dress up Daisy?
So Matt bought her an Anna costume from Frozen because she's been saying how her name is Anna for 3 months. I'll be like, "What's your name?" And she'll go, "Anna." And I'll go, "No, it's not. Name's not Anna." So we thought that she'd be fun and dress up as Anna, and she did not like that. So she was a skeleton because she has skeleton pajamas.
Oh, that works. That works.
So that's what she was.
Did you have her helping hand out candy or anything like that? And is she involved? Does she like Halloween at this early age?
She loves Halloween. Matt did a really crazy setup with zombies and blood and biohazard stuff, scaring all the kids in the neighborhood. And Daisy loves it. She loves zombies.
Nice.
Yeah.
My Daisy was a witch. Johnny was Venom. But he felt when he got to wear it to school because they had this school parade where the kids got to wear their costumes.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
But Venom has a muscle suit, and Venom's essentially naked, for lack of a better term. So he felt like he was walking around clutching his chest as though he was naked. It was pretty funny. But he soon realized, oh, the symbiote takes over Eddie Brock, and I'm not really naked. And then he started eating people in convenience stores. It just got out of hand. But Halloween is come and gone, and we're here to talk about something a little less scary for the most part, which is Star Wars. So, Lacey, before we get into our first segment of the show, we did have a super chat. Is that correct?
We do. That is correct, John. From Gary24fan. Thank you so much for the super chat, Gary. We appreciate it. He said, "Hi, TRB folks, and sorry I've not joined you in a while." It's okay, Gary. But it's been a rough year for my family and me. As always, Star Wars is here to recenter us. Gary, we're wishing you the best, man. I'm so sorry to hear that. I know it's been a not easy year for a lot of people, so we're here for you. We hear you. And hopefully you can have some fun listening to Star Wars and chatting with us.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it, man. Okay. Let us get to the first segment to warm things up before we get to that discussion on the state of Star Wars. So, James, where is our buddy Cheerit?
Our buddy Cheerit is here.
I fear nothing, for all this, as the Force wills it.
That's
Nice.
right. Will the Force is showing up on TRB Live tonight. Check that out. We use this segment as a way to pitch Star Wars questions and then guess whether something will or will not happen within the Star Wars universe. In addition to the questions that we pitch, if you are a patron, you can submit your questions to make it on the show, hopefully. Let's go ahead and start off with one of those particular patron questions. This one coming from Commander Semper Fi Danny, sending the question this week. Let's get to that one. It's, will we get a trailer for Skeleton Crew this month or up to the end of the year? So really November, December, is there still time for a Skeleton Crew trailer? What do you think, Lacey?
So I want there to be one because I feel like we're in this like dead zone. Like I feel like we're a bunch of stormtroopers like dead on a ship somewhere. Like nothing's happening in Star Wars. I can't hear you, John. You're muted, man. However,
You're obsessed with these dead stormtroopers.
well, we were just talking about it off air. So it's Halloween. I'm still in that like dead zombie mode. Anyway, so I want there to be a trailer. However, I don't think there will be. What I do think we will get is some type of montage of this is what's coming next year, because that's what they did last year. Because right now, you know, the SAG-AFTRA strike's still going on, rightfully so. Those people should be paid accordingly. And Disney is one of the biggest people holding out on them. So I couldn't see them throwing up stuff to promote, especially if it's not coming out this year. I think they're going to hold it. Plus, I think a lot of stuff gets lost in the holiday time period, especially if it's not coming out to the new year. Like people have stuff going on, family events, holidays. So I feel like they're going to hold it until the new year when they have people's attention and they're back at work and they're back at school. But you will get a glimpse of it in like a, hey, here's what's coming next year on Disney Plus, especially with the news that they're buying out Comcast portion of Hulu. I think you're going to see a big change between Hulu and Disney Plus. I think they're going to combine.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and answer that the same way you did. That's exactly right, I think. My rule of thumb is 8 weeks before the show comes out, and I don't think that it's going to come out in January or February, which means that it will not have any trailer or any sort of big promotional thing in 2024. I think it's probably more likely to come out in March of 2025 or later.
Oh, you think they're pushing it till 2025?
Oh, wait, no. I got my years wrong. Sorry. 2024. Yeah, I don't think it's coming out in 2024.
This is 1999.
I just got so...
Yep. Prince just got off stage.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to go that far. I just got it's yeah, I think that's coming out March or later of 2024. So that means that 8 weeks before that, where
so you're talking after the Super Bowl, like where Mando was.
Bowl, when is that? January,
February.
Yeah, after that. Yeah. Yep. John, what do you think?
I don't know if John's going to answer.
Oh,
I think he might be chilling out right now, so we might want to go to the next question.
Locked in. John's got his answer locked in. All right. Let's do speaking of dates that I can't seem to get right, I'm going to try to nail this one. Will 2024 be the final year Kathleen Kennedy is president of Lucasfilm? I just went, so I'll bounce that back at you, Lacey. What do you think?
Oh, I was going to say you go because I went first on the last question.
Oh, all right. I don't think so. I don't know what her era is going to look like at the end. I feel like, is it really just going to be like a headline one day that just says Kathleen Kennedy says she's stepping down in October 2025 or what do you know? But I just don't see it on the horizon right now. We had kind of talked about her going up until Indiana Jones 5 came out and released, but it has come out and released.
Yeah, we thought that was going to be the kind of turning point for her.
Yeah, and it sort of doesn't seem that way at all. So I don't know. I'm going to say that 2024, she is still president of Lucasfilm, but you got to think it's coming up sometime, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. I know people in the chat, like Matt Lawless, is saying that she'll stay through the Rey movies, and I think that's totally reasonable to think. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of changes happening at Lucasfilm and Marvel and Disney right now, especially between what has been said, rumored and whatnot between Kevin and Kathleen is like they didn't want to announce stuff in 2020. Things weren't ready to go. They're rethinking all of Marvel now. Like they're talking about bringing back Tony Stark and all these other people, like totally gutting what their original plan was. So I feel like Star Wars is kind of doing that too. We're going to get into it with the state of Star Wars, but I feel like we're at a really weird point in Star Wars where it's like it's unsure if they're going to follow through on what their initial plan was, or things have totally been kind of erased and or mixed around. I think Kathleen will stay through 2024 and she'll probably finish up in 2025 with Celebration being her last one. That's what I think. You're muted, James. You guys are on a roll tonight.
I've got a crazy cough, so I'm
No, it's
like
okay.
wanting to mute
It's
more
all
than
good.
I regularly am. But I gotta ask John, what do you think about a trailer coming out for Skeleton Crew by the end of the year?
No, I don't think so. And yeah, sorry. We really shouldn't even be commenting on this because the audio listeners don't care. But my internet went out, so that's what happened. But so apologies. We'll have a smooth ride the rest of the way here. But I don't think so. I think because I think Andor is going to get pushed to spring 2025. That's going to get sort of somehow melded into Celebration 25 in Japan. So I think they are pushing everything. So I think you're going to still get 2 series next year. It will be Skeleton Crew and Acolyte. Acolyte was probably going to be sooner. Now that's going to move to late summer, early fall. I think springtime Skeleton Crew. I think trailer probably March, comes out in April, or maybe because it's a kid's show, maybe comes out around May the 4th, something like that. So I do not think we will get a trailer this calendar year.
Is there any possibility in the three of us you think that's a Super Bowl thing, that Skeleton Crew would be something that they
I don't think they want to drop that kind of money for a Disney Plus show.
It would probably be Disney Plus in all of it, like what maybe Lacey's what's talking, like you put all the stuff in or something. All right, John, I said Kathleen Kennedy sticking around through 2024. Lacey said sticking around through 2024 and ending in 2025. She put a little period on that. Where do you stand on Kathleen Kennedy and 2024 being her final year as president of Lucasfilm?
Yeah, it will. Her contract expires at the end of 2024. I think that's going to be it. I think she will leave on her terms, sort of a stepping away. I did my job sort of thing, but she's going to be getting into her 70s, and that doesn't mean anything, but she may want to do other stuff. Maybe she wants to go back to producing movies and not have the weight of running a studio on her head. But I just think it's time. I've really enjoyed most of what they've put out, but I think a new voice sounds about right, especially considering the stumbling blocks of them putting a lot of these movies together, as much as I love them. So I think this is going to be it. I think they're going to either appoint someone new, or Disney's just going to operate Lucasfilm differently without necessarily its own president. But I think this is going to be it. I think this next year is going to be it for Kathleen Kennedy. And YouTubers aren't going to be able to take credit for it because they've been trying to say it for so long. But she's going to be like, my contract's up, I'm leaving. And I'm sure it'll be spun in a way that, people use conspiracy theories and stuff. But this is going to be it. It's not going to be that big of a deal. It's going to be fine.
And they could use 2025 Celebration to announce the new person.
They could do that. Yep.
That would be wild. Flying you out to Japan. Well, that's it for Will of the Force. I do want to remind people that after our discussion, which is happening next, it's next up on the docket. But after that, we're going to be doing Ask the Resistance. So remember to send in those questions in the chat and use that hashtag Ask the Resistance so we know it's what you want to do. And don't forget the super chat option is always there too. So if you do that, you're guaranteed to get the question in. So with that said, that's the end of Will of the Force. Let's move on to our discussion.
Obi-Wan once thought as you do.
All right, thank you, Darth. The state of Star Wars fall 2023. So every season, as I said at the top, we like to take the time that we have on the podcast to have an open discussion about the state of the franchise. So now it's time for the fall edition of this year. I mean, a good way to start things off, we always try to tie in Will of the Force into our discussion. So Kathleen Kennedy, certainly a topic for discussion as always a white hot topic because of how people feel about her leadership or her execution or what have you. But in general, I think the state of Star Wars is good. I think I'd be lying if I said that it is running on all cylinders right now. If you even take a look at the news, there's not a lot of news right now. I know the strikes are a part of that without question. So hopefully the Screen Actors Guild strike comes to an end and they're able to come up with their deal as the writers have, and that can all be put aside and move forward there. But I just think that's, even if there weren't strikes, I still think it would be a little tepid right now because until the movies really get going and we learn that filming is going to take place starting in Pinewood Studios in March, and you just get that feeling that a Star Wars movie's coming back, we're going to feel like something is missing. Now, if it was the other way around and it was just movies and there were no shows, I wouldn't feel that way. I feel like Star Wars runs best when they are doing something with theatrical films. So I think that's coming, and next year we're going to feel that again because I think they are going to get rolling on the movies. We got the new shows coming out. We're going to be running on all cylinders again. So I think things are good. I think Ahsoka was mostly beloved. I feel like fandom received it pretty well for the most part, and that's always a good box to check. So if Ahsoka didn't live up to what people were hoping, then I think we'd be having a really spicy conversation. But I think Ahsoka did a good job of delivering a series that exceeded my expectations from a visual perspective with special effects and how it was presented. So I really enjoyed Ahsoka. I'm curious to see what's up next. But where are you guys at? How are you guys feeling about Star Wars? Because it seems like the big stuff isn't really going on, but there's a lot of stuff like the books, High Republic, some maybe new video games and that sort of thing. How are you guys feeling?
Toys,
yeah.
Well,
go ahead, James.
Well, I was going to follow up with John on his Kathleen Kennedy thing, because you said you think she would end by 2024, but while you were gone, it was kind of discussed a little bit about she's got this movie coming out with Rey and Charmin Hebdo-Chinoy, and it's like an odd pick for a director and all this. It's like, don't you think she would also like stick around to see that through, because she picked this director, and if somebody else comes in, there's a chance that director just gets like, no, we're scrapping this movie, or we're picking someone else to do it or something.
Which now that's
she would like pick this person and then like stick with them through it all the way.
May 2026. That's been pushed to.
For an IP in this day and age, there's always going to be things in production in varying stages. So no matter when she decides to leave or when they decide to make a change, something's going to be being developed. So
I know that. I'm talking about this one thing where
I don't
she
think
like
so.
picks this one, like hand picks this random person practically to be like, you're leading Rey and the female future of the Force.
No, and we'd be honest, it wouldn't shock me if there's a director change there too, because
anyway.
It could be Obeyed Chinoy's schedule because of what happened with the strikes and things getting pushed. It could be a creative issue. It could be a lot of things. It wouldn't be rare for Star Wars to make a director change. It's happened several times on these in the last 10 years. So that wouldn't shock me either. So I don't think Kathleen Kennedy, I don't know what someone who's, in their 70s is like, but I'm sure she doesn't want to just do something just because there's a movie coming out. I'm sure she has ideas for her future and her legacy and stuff. If she sticks around, she was sticking around because she wants to be the president of Lucasfilm, not to be a lame duck. Well, I picked this director, So I guess I'll sign up for 2 more years of this job. I don't think so.
Yeah, it
Well, what
has
were you
been
gonna
pushed back a ways, 2026.
Yeah.
I mean, we've even heard that any of the other projects that like Ryan Johnson's project kept getting pushed back and pushed back because he's working on other stuff. So it's tough to think about where Kathleen Kennedy will be in like even a year from now because we don't know how Star Wars is going to be at that point and like how these strikes are going to end up, like where they're going. Because already they're canceling all these projects, not Star Wars necessarily, but pushing back stuff, canceling projects. There's been so many rumors of like stuff being just kind of shelved. So I don't think we're going to have
Indiana
a
Jones stuff.
yeah, I just don't think we're going to have a full understanding of how everything has progressed and or changed until once the strike is done. But I think that the strike is also being used as an excuse to clean up their schedules, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like things are. It just has this feeling. I haven't heard anything or anything like that. There's just this feeling that Star Wars is in a weird spot where they need to produce shows and they need to produce movies, but it just feels like they're in a transition phase. And like Marvel's starting to get there right now too. You heard old stories about like from Variety anyway that they may be bringing back all the characters who died, who
changing villains because of issues with the actor.
Yeah, I mean, how do you make Endgame age worse than it already does? You do the you counteract everything that it did.
The moment Spider-Man came out, I knew they were going to bring everyone back.
Yeah, so Marvel's at that place, and I feel like Lucasfilm's sort of at that place right now. So it is very interesting. I just can't help but think like people say, "Oh well, we lasted 15 years before Star Wars movies, or 10 years between Star Wars movies. We can wait." And it's like, sure we can, but things are different now. Yeah, things are just different now. Like that's just not how movie studios operate and intellectual properties operate. So we have to look at it from the prism of how things are done today. It does feel like we are waiting for Star Wars to do bigger things. And as much as I'm excited for those upcoming movies that were announced, there is always going to be that little part of me that's like, you don't get the benefit of the doubt anymore. I gotta see a photo of a camera on a set with a director and actors to be like, that movie's happening. And I think that's fair to say that at this point. So as much as I'm excited about the Rey movie and the Filoni movie and the Mangold movie and Sean Levy, who still hasn't been announced, which maybe we could talk about that. Because he's doing that thing where he's like, I'm just gonna keep talking about this as much as I can so that they can't cancel it. Whereas
so it would be like, embarrassing for them if they
Taika's like, I don't know if I'm doing a Star Wars movie. Who knows?
So inevitably, if something happens with Sean Levy's movie, whether it's him or Lucasfilm, we're all gonna think it was Lucasfilm because he was like,
exactly.
I'm making a movie, man.
Yeah.
He's like not around. It's like he could be a total jerk, and that's why he got
getting
fired,
to the finish line.
Like, it's nuts. I think like like where we're at right now will be more clear years later, the same way that we're looking at like how they released all these movies and they were like, oh, we're doing 7, 8, and 9 and middle films, and every year there's going to be a thing. And then they sort of like looked at it and they're like, that might have been too much, or maybe we made the wrong decisions there. So they kind of they also then pivot at one point to be like, oh, Disney Plus is going to be a thing, and there's going to be these TV shows. And we entered that era where we were like, I think the movies are done for a while, and I think the TV shows are going to like sustain us Star Wars wise. And that has been the case for a little while, but now the movies are headed back into production. We got 3 on the way, 4 on the way, possibly, or more. So
Lando movies.
It seems like well, I was actually thinking Taika's but Lando movie as well. So it's like 6. Yeah, it's crazy what's apparently on the horizon. But I think like we're going to look back at the area that we're at now and we're like, well, that was sort of the tail end of what they were thinking would be the new era, which would be TV could supplement film, and they found out that didn't really work. It's good and people like it, but it can't replace film, even though it was as expensive and you ended up with longer or technically more content out of Star Wars. People didn't respond to it the same way as they do just going to a theater and seeing it for a couple weeks and then putting it out on Blu-ray,
Mm-hmm. That's tricky because I got to be careful here because I know how much people love Andor, but like that story probably could have been a 2.5 hour movie. Ahsoka probably could have been a 2 hour movie.
Watch it. No, I'm just kidding.
I think Obi-Wan should have been a movie. I stand by that.
Did you hear that too?
Yeah.
About, I don't know if this is how accurate it is, but the report of the budget of Obi-Wan.
No.
I forget where I saw that, but it was reported that the budget for Obi-Wan was only 90 million. Which
the budget of
Really?
Obi-Wan for some reason sounded like a Legends book.
Yeah.
Star
Yeah.
Wars and the budget of Obi-Wan.
he has to decide how much he wants to spend at the grocery store.
That's crazy though. 90 million, much less than other shows.
That's like one episode of Andor, isn't it?
I mean, Andor was like, I
No.
think 275 million
For 12 episodes.
So say 140 million compared to 90 million for Obi-Wan. So almost 50% higher than Obi-Wan's budget. So which
Dang.
is it shows, it's like that old adage, you get what you pay for. Like there's no question that the Obi-Wan series had a smaller budget. And
Sorry,
it's
wait
just-
a minute. But we'll break that down real quick though, because you said it was 50% less, but it had 50% less episodes too. It was only 6 out of versus 12.
No, I said Andor
Right.
had a 50% higher budget than Obi-Wan. Based on the episode count. So say the $280 million budget divided in half is 140. And
Okay,
then
gotcha.
there you go. But and thank you, Miss Sanalitro, my third grade math teacher.
I'm terrible at math, so don't ask me.
She used to do these flashcard games for us. So thank you so much, wherever you are. God bless. Yeah. So, and I still like the Obi-Wan series, but I'm not saying I'm tired of the Disney Plus shows, because I still think it's amazing when those shows are out and I'm like, oh my God, I get to watch a new live action Star Wars show, today or whatever. But they do, even Ahsoka, it definitely feels like it's a TV show. And I had thought when they were doing these Star Wars shows that it was going to be able to feel the same as the movies, but just episodically. I don't know that I could say any of these Star Wars shows live up to the budget of things like Game of Thrones or other massive television series. I don't know that I could say that. And then that brings us back to the conversation about the volume, because 4 years ago we were all, the three of us included, were gushing about this new technology and everything they could do, realized actual shots because of it's on the screen and everything. And now I feel like it's teetered back the other way, where people are like, are they using it the right way? Are they using it too much for all their scenes? Should it just be complementary? So I think the appetite for new movies, plus maybe feeling a little stale with especially the Manhattan Beach filmed Disney Plus Star Wars shows, it just feels like there's something lacking. And as like I personally feel unbiased, because Star Wars is my favorite, I don't feel like Star Wars is looked at by Disney as the golden child. It's almost looked at as the second or third or what have you. And I don't like that. Personally, I don't like that. So I don't know what needs to change for that to happen. Obviously, movies is one way to go. But even now with the box office returns for Indiana Jones or Mission Impossible, I don't know. Like maybe we don't revisit $1 billion Star Wars box office, which didn't exist. I mean, maybe with inflation, but definitely with inflation in the original Star Wars. But technically, I think The Force Awakens was the first $1 billion Star Wars movie. So it's not something we were always used to. Now it's like after that, we're like, that's now the measure. I don't know that it is anymore. I think you could still get a very successful movie out of Star Wars, and have it be like 700 million or 800 million or something like that. Now people will use that to say like, oh,
It seems like
successful
billion is
cheaper.
the benchmark, right? Because it's like, oh, Barbie made $1 billion. This made $1 billion.
Which I think is rare now. I think what Barbie did is like crazy, or Top Gun did is crazy to think, because I think when we look at graphs in the future, there's going to be that spike of 2005, 2018, 2019, and then COVID, economy, strikes, everything that their theaters are getting bashed over the head with.
Mhm.
I think it's going to be rarer and rarer that we get million or $1 billion movies, because even good movies I liked as a kid that came out in like the 80s and stuff, it's like, how much money did that movie make? And it's like $40 million. And it's like, it wasn't always this obsession of box office, and now it is. Now it's considered one of the reasons to prove why a movie's good. And I don't know that that's the case. I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, because I feel like oftentimes the movies that do the best at the box office aren't necessarily the best movies. It's just the movies that people have been convinced either by trailers or their friends or whoever to go see it. Like, I wouldn't argue
yeah,
that
I mean, I think they're
movie, but
excited to go see it, just
yeah,
regardless of how good it is. They want to go
sure.
see how it ends or how whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's just so tricky, I miss going to the movie theater for Star Wars. I miss the whole experience of that, and I don't think the hype is there that is with the TV shows. I think that The Mandalorian did something that they didn't expect it to do, with the whole Grogu pop culture thing and how it kind of blew up, and then everybody knows what The Mandalorian is, everybody knows what Grogu, Baby Yoda is.
Yep.
I don't think they expected that. I think that's totally caught them off guard, and they've been trying to make money off that since, and they've been trying to push it even further. But I still don't think the hype is the same as a movie. Like, it's just not. I think that there was a lot of hype around season 2 of The Mandalorian, but I think that hype has kind of gone away, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this was from me, because I'm always hyped for The Mandalorian. I'm saying for everybody else.
Do you guys think the Hulu acquisition changes things from a content greenlight perspective?
I think they're going to combine those two. I think those two services are going to become one service.
And so the name Hulu is going to be gone, and it's going to be under Disney Plus, or it's going to be like Disney Media something.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? You have a full catalog of stuff. Why wouldn't you combine it all?
I mean, you could have stuff be on Hulu, and you could have other stuff be on Disney Plus, and keep both of them, keep people buying both. But you could use certain properties to say, hey, we've acquired this, or we've created this. This is Hulu original, but it's like also going to be on Disney Plus, or Disney Plus things could also, like Star Wars could also be on Hulu, so that maybe some of those people are a little bit more enticed to get Hulu because some of the Disney Plus stuff they like is there,
Right.
what they would want to see is there. Some of that Disney stuff. I could see them keeping it around, but then sort of playing the game where certain stuff plays on both platforms.
Yeah.
My question is, like, you said something, John, I don't feel like the shows are not cinematic. I think maybe what's happening is we're just watching them at home on our TVs, and there's something missing, like the crowd.
Oh, I disagree.
Really?
Yeah. I can't watch Obi-Wan, and even you and I saw it in the big screen in Anaheim, the first 2 episodes. It feels low budget. It just does. There's less background actors, like considerably less.
I don't
where they even had to get
Obi-Wan.
Star Wars podcasters to be extras. But it's like,
I think that's by far the outlier. But when we're talking about like Mandalorian, when we're talking about, say, Ahsoka was probably like one of the better looking ones.
I thought Ahsoka looked good, but then you can tell with certain scenes or certain episodes where they were like, this is where we're going to save our money. And like the glaring one to me was Peridia, just the landscape of that. We're going to a brand new galaxy in Star Wars. Limitless imagination. Imagine, like, what would George Lucas do if he was like, I'm going to just open up a new galaxy? Like, stuff could be upside down. Things could be all weird. They're like, it's just rocky parts of Southern California. That's what we're doing.
To be fair, George did shoot a lot in California.
Sure, he did. But with the prequels, when he had the technology to do things, like you want to talk about Order 66, Fallujah, and all those planets, that was some weird stuff. Like even like Coruscant, like Camino, there's weird things that he did And then like the Thrawn, I don't know if it's Thrawn ship, I guess. I felt like it looked like he was clearly there was a screen there, and like that wasn't this giant long hallway. There were parts of it which I never felt watching a Star Wars movie. And maybe here and there with some of the matte painting stuff they did, like the Millennium Falcon behind Lando and Return of the Jedi stands out to me. But for the most, and that's a 40-year-old movie, so it gets some leeway. But I've never, like the last 5 Star Wars movies we've gotten, I never once was watching a scene like, oh man, that looks rough or that looks bad. And that's me having a high standard for Star Wars because I love it so much. I think Star Wars is supposed to be the one cutting edge, setting the bar, not the one people are like, did you see that Obi-Wan Star Wars show? Like, we're not at the point anymore where George Lucas is making this charming serial thing. Star Wars became king. It became the greatest. It created the blockbuster movie experience. I want Star Wars to be the one where people are like, did you see, like basically how people treat James Cameron now? I think Star Wars should be the one people are talking about like that. Did you see what they did with that new Star Wars movie? Holy cow. You got to check out what they did with the special effects for it. We haven't heard that in a while.
Especially because James Cameron fell in love with movies because of Star Wars.
Right. And so we hear it all the time with Avatar, even though those movies seem to come and go and don't really like stick around in terms of people loving characters and stories and stuff. It's a spectacle. If you take that visual spectacle and apply it to something as mythical and generational as Star Wars, we could be hitting new heights. It's just a matter of does Disney want to buy into the IP truly? And like you can't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like you got to go all in on this $4 billion thing that you already made your money back on, and pump money into Star Wars. Don't do it with these silly novelty square dance hotel things, which I know people love, and I totally respect that. Put the money into the things that make this stuff good, and everything else will trickle from that. You'll get rides based on the new movies. You'll get shows based on the new movies. They got to put all in on new movies, and I hope all these ones that they're talking about get made. I hope they're all great. But Star Wars should not be stumbling at making movies. It's the one thing Star Wars should be great at, and it seems to be the one thing that they're having the most trouble with, which is why I'm thinking maybe there does need to be a new voice in there. And Disney is all as much to blame here too, because they own it. And I understand that sometimes they put their foot on Kathleen Kennedy's head, and she's a classy professional. She's never going to like say that. So her hands are tied. And I have a lot of respect for her for taking the brunt of all this, because you're not seeing YouTube videos with Bob Iger with red eyes as much as you're seeing Kathleen Kennedy. And he and Chapek and all those people are all just as much to blame for anything you may or may not like about how Star Wars is being operated. So,
yeah, I was going to say, I think it's kind of crazy that Avatar got a land before Star Wars got a land, which is kind of funny in Disney. But the other part of my thing, John, I got your opinion on it. I was thinking it was partially the TV thing, like we're sitting at home watching it, and it's not so much that maybe is the reason why it doesn't feel special. So I'm gonna ask Lacey this question. So the next show's coming out, maybe it's Skeleton Crew, maybe it's Mandalorian season, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Whatever Star Wars show is next, right? They do some sort of deal with a movie theater where you can buy basically like a season pass, and every Wednesday you have your seat in the theater and you can watch every episode, and it's the same people, but like, you know, you're buying like stadium tickets, like you've got your seats. How much would you pay to watch every episode of the next show as they come out in a theater with people? And do you think that would change? You wouldn't pay any? You wouldn't do that?
No.
You'd watch it at home?
I would watch it at home. I feel like a movie theater should be saved for movies, and I couldn't see myself going back every single week with my life and my schedule and to watch something in the movie theater every single week. Like the convenience of watching it at home to me is awesome. I think the best way that they've done it so far has been Tuesday nights, where you get to watch it at night with everybody else
For
online.
sure.
That
I
to
don't know
me
why
has
they weren't
changed
doing that.
that to me has changed the experience of watching with people. But I think the hype of watching a movie, like a one and done type thing, is different than going back every single week to watch something in the movie
It's
theater.
just it's not realistic. Like you're gonna get
Yeah.
like families are gonna get babysitters, or they're gonna try to bring their kids to a theater for a 35-minute TV episode. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, Danny makes a good point in the comments. She said, "I would love a theater experience, but only after the season is done and the whole season at once." Yeah,
Oh,
that would be cool, but that's long.
that's
But that
long.
would be cool. I don't know. It's just I agree with John. I feel like while there are moments in these shows that I agree are absolutely stunning and beautiful cinematography, they're not movies. They're not huge practical sets. They're not on location. You could tell there aren't as many droids and aliens and creature shop and like all this other stuff. You could just tell. And like that was one of the biggest critiques I think of Andor and a lot of the other shows was that where are all the aliens? Like where are all the creatures? Where are all these? It makes the galaxy feel really small as the TV shows.
I mean, James bringing this up as an option,
Mm,
I completely understand it,
sure.
but it's part of the problem because
I'm
like,
wondering if that experience though is like it would elevate the show. Like you have the opportunity to make the show better because you're watching it in a theater. It becomes more theatrical because the people around you all laugh at the same joke.
well, they
We all
did it
go,
for one of the
the
Ahsoka
same
episodes,
moments.
right?
It becomes more
They
theatrical.
did it for a couple
They
of
did
the
it for the
Ahsokas.
Anakin episode or something.
Yeah,
how'd
they
that
did it
go?
for a
Like,
couple of the Ahsokas.
Right.
limited
But I feel like those are
theaters,
like
like
very limited things. I guess I was thinking if instead of like one episode, like John, you're right, we did get to see like the first two in a theater sort of situation, and that's cool. We watched the Mandalorian episode at Celebration as well, but it's like I guess I'm thinking like if you could experience the whole season as it rolled out, but the only change would be that it's in a crowd with people, how would that change our feelings on the shows and the theatricalness of it? I think watching in your living room alone, is different, right?
yeah, I
Is
just
that
don't
hurting the
like
shows? Is that hurting
but
the
if,
specialness of Star Wars?
in all due respect, because I understand your point, if we're at the point where we're like saying they should consider taking their lower budget TV shows and replacing the theatrical experience with those because they aren't coming out with movies, that's a problem.
Well, yeah. I mean,
So
I'm like they should be making movies. I'm not standing that ground. I'm just looking at how could you turn what is,
like
I
Lacey
don't know. I
said,
think everybody gets my point. I feel like
the,
they're making Star Wars, but they're giving it to you on a TV, and it's not that experience of going to the theater.
the
So
people who were inspired by Star Wars to make movies are now making movies, and Star Wars isn't. And some of them are arguably making better movies than Star Wars. So
and a lot of them probably watch Star Wars on a VHS at home. It was
James
about the
Cameron,
story.
yeah,
and
saw
not
Star
the
Wars in the movie theater. He was a truck driver at the time.
yeah, he was a trucker.
He walked out of the movie theater and said, "I'm going to become a movie director," and walked into his local library and got every book on movie directing and became a movie
And then
director.
like 3 years later, he made the Terminator. Crazy.
Yeah.
Now, Lacey, I know I like the discussion so far, no doubt about it.
Mhm.
But I know we have some super chats to add to the fire here.
We do. So our first super chat comes from Miles. Hey, Miles, how's it going? He
Thanks,
said,
Miles.
regarding Ahsoka, should Jason been the one holding the lightsaber and not Sabine? In my opinion, the blue one, just like his dad before him. So I guess state of Star Wars, how we're feeling about characters in general. So what do you guys think? Do you think Jason should have been the one holding the lightsaber, not Sabine? Like, do you think they handled Jason well? Do you think they're doing a good job with the transition of characters from animation to live action?
What happened to James? What happened to did Kanan's lightsaber explode with him? Is that where his is? Did that happen?
He's one with him.
I'm sorry if I'm not understanding the question. Should Jason have been the one holding the lightsaber and not Sabine? Like we mean Ezra's lightsaber? He was keeping it.
Yeah, I think that's what he's saying. Is he's saying should Jason have had it, not Sabine?
But Ezra's is green, and
I
my
think
opinion,
he's
the blue one, just like his dad before him.
I think
Sorry.
he's just saying, should he have the lightsaber or should Sabine have it? I think that's what the question is. I would just answer it that way.
I mean, we've talked about Sabine being a Jedi through and through. I think that Jason's day is coming. So I think
agree.
the building of a lightsaber, and probably, who knows, actually, we may have already seen Jason's lightsaber. Maybe Ezra says, oh no, that doesn't make sense. I was gonna say this one, I built it because Kanan, it was like his or whatever,
Right.
and gives it to him, but the building of the lightsaber is important. But I don't know, maybe not that, but
we'll see.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, John? Or
yeah, I think there's more to come with Jason. I think fast tracking that. I think if they gave him a lightsaber now, with everything that happened in Ahsoka, it would have told us that they don't have big plans for the character going forward. I think you need to get him in a situation where all eyes are on him from an audience perspective. We're not worried about Thrawn, Ahsoka, Sabine, Baylan, everyone. Because he wasn't in the show much, and he was in the known galaxy for a while. So I think there's a future with the character. I hope there is, and I'd like to think that there is going to be a bigger focus, sort of like James was saying, like building lightsaber is important. So one day, Miles, we must have patience.
Yeah, I feel like, Miles, you have a lot of critiques about Ahsoka, and I appreciate that because I like when someone cares so much that they're like, look, I have to get this out.
It's a good question. Yeah.
Thanks for asking your question. Next is Diamond Figs. What up, man? Thanks for the super chat. He said, I think all post-COVID Star Wars is just super rushed. I don't mind waiting for Star Wars if it's going to be the best possible product.
Fair.
I do think there was a little rushing. And I think as we were discussing earlier about the 2020 stuff when they did that big investor day, I think there was a lot of on Disney being like, go, 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 like tell them whatever you want. And people were like, we have nothing. And they're like, yes, you do. And we've seen kind of the fallout from that, but good point. Appreciate it. Next is Freezy.
Speaking of Donald Glover, I found out he did a lot of werewolf bar mitzvah. It's like, that's not Tracy Morgan. It's Donald Glover doing a Tracy Morgan impression.
Oh, that's really
that's
funny.
pretty wild.
Next is Freezy2324. Wouldn't be a show without Freezy. What up, man? He said, do you think the next Star Wars movie that gets released will feel less special because of the amount of content that Disney has put out? This is a great question. I was like, great question. Great question. John, what do you think?
I don't think so. The only thing that could be is that it's too soon. Like if the Rey movie is the first movie, which it seems like it's going to be, unless something really changes, I still think it might be too soon for her return. But beyond that, I think once people get a trailer, a title, the opportunity to buy those tickets and like go to the theater, sit in the seat, like it doesn't matter how long it is. Anytime, at least for me anyway, I can only talk about my feelings on it, but anytime I'm sitting in a theater to watch a new Star Wars movie, I get them now. I get the goosebumps. I get the feeling. It's a very special, nuanced thing that can't be replicated by other franchises for me. So I think it'll still feel special. It might not feel the way, I don't think we'll ever feel the way we felt when we first saw, whether it's our first Star Wars movie we ever saw, maybe for some people that was the original, or Phantom Menace, or for a lot of people recently, how we felt with The Force Awakens and the return of Star Wars. We may not hit that again, but I think it will always feel special watching a brand new Star Wars movie in a theater, especially because they confirmed the crawl's coming back. Like, you need all that stuff. And it's all there. It's all coming. It's just a matter of when. So I personally don't think it'll be less special.
James, what do you think?
Quickly, I think it will a little bit. I just think it's we finished up that trilogy, and we've had stuff holding us over, and it's obviously, we just talked, it's not movie quality, but it's movie quality. You know what I mean? It's good stuff. And then we get another movie, a few years later. I think just naturally that's not as exciting as the 2 times Star Wars have returned, with episode 1, and everybody was super hyped. and
Mhm.
episode 7 when everybody was super hyped, because every time that has happened, people thought there's no more Star Wars. And in this case, we're like, there's more Star Wars coming. We know it. We're waiting. And now I'm a little afraid that the movies aren't going to live up to expectations. I don't know.
Right.
But
Yeah, it's tough.
I think that what John said is accurate, but I do think it's really not going to live up to what we have seen before. So the hype will be somewhat diminished.
It's tough because especially fans that have become fans through the Disney era of Star Wars, a lot of them believe they've seen the best Star Wars already, whether it be The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi or Rogue One. Like they've already believed like, oh, this is the best Star Wars can be. So anything that comes after that, they're just comparing it to those things. Which is unfortunate because every Star Wars should be viewed as a new story and a new adventure. But it is tough that when we're going to get a movie now, we're going to be looking at it like, okay, this better be better than The Mandalorian. This better be better than any TV show I've ever seen. And if it doesn't add up, there's going to be an issue. But thank you, Freezy. Appreciate the question. I saw someone commenting, I think it was Angry Magma. What up, man? In the comment, he said, does Lacey have a new mic? She sounds different. I'm battling a cold. So I'm sorry if I sound a little nasally. I'm trying my best here to breathe and talk at the same time. But anyway, yeah, let's get back into it.
All right. So what, Lacey, what would you like to talk about? What would you like to get into?
I mean, I guess we could talk a little bit about toys and merch. I mean, I feel like I have the Hasbro page up right now just so I don't miss anything that currently came out. First of all, Carson Teva electronic helmet came out. So happy for Paul. So happy for
cool.
Carson Teva. Super cool. Might have to pick it up. And by might, I mean, I'm probably going to.
Ooh,
Did you see him as in The Last Airbender? Looks awesome.
He looks so great. I'm so
Yeah.
happy for him. There's no one that I want more success for than Paul. He is such a genuinely wonderful human being that I just want to see him succeed, especially after Kim's Convenience and the dirty stuff they did to him with that. So he just deserves all the success. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think Hasbro has unfortunately been in a situation where they're still releasing stuff so much later than the actual shows and content. It's just tricky. They did just put out a vintage collection Chewbacca for Life Day, which sold out immediately. People were pretty pumped about that because it's one of those rare ones. But I feel like every time I see stuff, it's like, oh, we're going to re-release this Stormtrooper again. Oh, we're going to re-release Anakin again. Oh, we're doing another Anakin and another Padme. And it's like prequel, Stormtrooper. The coolest thing they've done recently, I think, is the hologram series where they like the figure goes on a light and it glows. I thought that was like really unique and different. And I like what they're doing with the lightsabers and the cosplay like pieces with the helmets. But to me, I saw it online and I agree with it, which a lot of people have said. It's like you keep seeing the same characters over and over and over again. And I don't understand how they're still making all these stormtroopers and have not made characters like Ben Solo or more or solo characters, solo creatures, aliens. Like, why do we keep getting these same molds over and over and over again?
Mhm.
And that's my critique.
But why? I gotta choose my words carefully here. We're live and I'm getting in trouble.
I get in trouble.
No, well, because I've been the one person I think on this podcast that takes shots at Hasbro once in a while, and I don't.
I've told them to their face, like, "Hey, where's my Ben Solo figure?"
But I don't understand why we couldn't have had Balin Skull on the pegs in August, ready to go.
His figure's the only one that's sold out currently right now.
But it doesn't even come out until February. I can't, like, the show ended a month ago, and they're like, but don't worry, if you like that character, in 5 months you can get its character. I think some Obi-Wan stuff just came out. It's just none of that makes sense.
They just released Andor.
They can tell me it's because of the secrecy and all that stuff, and if it's because of secrecy, then that needs to change. because
Mhm.
like it doesn't make any logical sense unless they're punting on the idea of Star Wars figures and how that was always so congruent with the experience of going to see a new Star Wars. Like
Mhm.
the first wave of Star Wars action figures was late, and then once they understood the power of it, they were coming out before the movies came out, so that people had a Boba Fett figure in their hand before they even knew what he was. They were able to come up with their own stories about him, and now they come out with these shows. Everyone's like, "This character is amazing," and they're like, "Don't worry, you can pre-order it now, and then it'll ship to you around Valentine's Day." It's just that stuff, and I don't need to go on a long thing about it because I've said it before. It makes no sense. You can tell me all the excuses in the world as to why it's the case. It wasn't the case before, so I don't know why it's the case now, and it's just pretty depressing. When I'm at the Target or somewhere with my son, and he's like, "Oh, Dad, I want to check out the toy aisle," and I roll by the Star Wars aisle and I take a photo of it every time, and it's like the lowest grade lightsabers, a plushie from Young Jedi Adventures,
And a lot
and
of
then
porks.
like a vintage figure of a character that nobody knows, and that's it. It just
Always feels like vintage and Obi-Wan to me
yeah. It's so
for some reason.
I am happy for Paul Sun Young Lee with the helmet. That's awesome that he's getting the helmet. I think that's really cool, and I hope people buy that up because I think the character has a good future in Star Wars.
Even him. Why is
But
it taking this long for him to get an action figure? What are we doing?
I know I just don't get it, and I think that's part of the disconnect with fans, especially if you want young fans to really be involved. Because my son plays with action figures. You know, he's 5. He doesn't play with
What are
Star
his
Wars action
favorites?
figures. Right now he's into Venom and Spider-Man and that stuff.
Nice.
But
It would be really cool if, like after the show airs, like the Monday morning or however they do it now, like the couple days later, they put out that poster of the character.
yeah,
Like every show gets like a
right.
character poster. It'd be so sweet if the same day the pre-order for the toy dropped and they had the toy like ready
They
to
did
go
do
or
that.
something.
They did that for Mando Monday.
But I should be able to watch a new
But was it
episode of
the new
Ahsoka.
characters throughout that
Mhm.
season? Oh, it was?
Mhm.
All right. So they
Season
did do
2
that.
of Mando, they did do that. They did Mando Mondays, and it was a big thing. And every Monday they had the characters that were in the previous episode. So like they did the Funko with Baby Yoda eating the eggs. They did like
yeah.
stuff that related to those episodes. And I don't know why, to your defending what you're saying, James, I don't know why they went away from
They
that
stopped?
model. They stopped
Right.
doing it. Again, they lean on, hey, it's secrecy, it's production
Oh.
time. But I mean, I'm gonna even say that like I feel like we don't get a lot of just all different types of merch. I'm not just saying action figures. I'm saying like I don't think we get it seems like the same t-shirts are coming out, the same. And as a collector, it's unfortunate because I like kind of like the more weird stuff. But looking at the Rise of Skywalker, we didn't get a Rey lightsaber for what, 2 years? 2 years I had to wait for my Rey lightsaber.
I
And
was
then
gonna
they like
ask you
didn't even
too.
have Babu Frick out until what, a year later?
Maybe also move into parks, like the status of the hotel and all that, but just like Galaxy's Edge, the merch that's coming out of there, the way
Yeah.
they're bringing in new characters, like now we're seeing Boba Fett, we're seeing Ahsoka, we're seeing Hera, we're seeing, and it's like they're moving away from, it seems like, that model of like this is a very specific time of The Last Jedi. And do you think that they'll like revamp parts of the park, or do you think they're just going to play in like Hera went to Batuu one day?
I don't know. I feel like with action figures and merch in general, with the Force Awakens and the Rise of Skywalker, they had those big events where you went to the store at like 11 p.m.
Mhm.
to see what was there, and that's where you got everything. And because there's this shift to online, especially during COVID, where they had to shift accordingly to, make money and be a business. The problem is everything's being sold online now. There's no in-person need. So they're carrying less stuff in stores. They're also just doing only online. It takes kind of the hype away. It's kind of like the discussion we just had for a good chunk of this episode about TV versus movies.
Right.
When you're at home ordering something, it's not the same feeling as going to a store and finding it. It's not the same feeling as lucking upon one in the pegs that you've been looking for.
Even I was caught up in the merch of The Force Awakens, though. I was like interested
I
in
bought
getting
everything,
toys and stuff. Yeah,
everything.
but
Yeah.
I'm not into that anymore. And I
Yeah.
think that are they also realizing that they're like, yeah, we could do it like we did for The Force Awakens. It was very exciting then, but nobody's going to buy it. Like we have to tune to the model of what we actually are selling, and people are not buying this stuff.
But
is that what's going on?
I think they just don't want to do events anymore from what I've talked to with the guys from guys and ladies of Hasbro. I think they're just not into the whole store event model. I think they've moved away from brick and mortar stores because they don't see that there's a benefit of doing it that way. Then they moved into the Mando Monday model, which was also somewhat different but interesting. It still did the whole release thing, and there was some type of it just as someone that's a collector, not just of Star Wars stuff, of all different types of stuff. I like Christmas decorations. Like I collect things all the time.
Some say hoarder. We'll use collector.
I am not a hoarder.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing.
I've gotten rid of a lot of stuff in the past few years. I am not a hoarder. But as a collector or someone that has a thrill of finding things at a flea market or wherever, buying it online is not the same as going to a place and finding it in a bin. And there's a joy in that. There's like kind of like a fun story to that. Like some of my favorite pieces in my collection are things that I found that I was like, oh my God, I found this at a flea market. It was a little banged up. I cleaned it up. It looks great. Or, oh, I couldn't believe I found this. And I think that joy has been missing for me personally with collecting. And then also with stores like Amazon or Walmart or Target, like they don't get the whole idea of collecting. They know that there's money behind it and they know people are spending money. But when they ship you stuff, it's dinged up. It's like stepped on. Like they don't see the importance of like the actual package and what the action figure looks like. So it's, you know, it's tough. It's just, I miss the idea of going to a store and looking for something. And I agree with John 100%. Like you go to the store and they're empty.
Well, I think that they need to rethink their model and like not just cater to people with expendable income who are just going to put something on their shelf in a box. I think they need to keep their eye on the next generation of fans of things if they want people to continue to love this franchise, and kids are always going to be it. And just my personal experience, my son loves going to toy aisles, looking at a figure, being like, what is that sword? What do you think he does with that? And he doesn't even know what it is. It just looks cool. And it's just not there for Star Wars. There's wrestling figures. There's a lot of other stuff. I'm not saying it's how it used to be, but Star Wars is the most barren out of all of the aisles. And whether it's online or in a store, put out your toys when something is out as a show or movie, so these kids can play with them, watch it on screen, play with them, be like, I like this. I'm going to create this story. It's all woven in together, and it's just gone now. And I keep hearing these excuses about it's the secrecy.
They're also $17 to $25 a piece.
To make a $5 figure again. Yes, do the 3.75 that a kid can play with. Rip the box open. I don't care what it's going to be worth when it's graded in 40 years. Kids, these toys are meant for kids. Target that audience. My son, every time we go to the toy store, Daddy, can I get a toy? Daddy, can I get a toy? It's like, well, you can't get a Star Wars toy. Not because of me, because there are none.
I also miss toy stores in general. Like now it's like good.
I heard Toys R Us is making a slight comeback.
I found these at Kroger, like a grocery store. And I was like, they're pretty accurate. They don't have like a lot of motion, but like the fact that they just like stand and look pretty good.
So James has a Mandalorian and Grogu figure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Five Below is where you can get decent Star Wars figures that don't sell.
I think it's the same toys. Yeah, it's Five Below, but they had them at Kroger, and I think I've seen them at like Walmart or whatever. But yeah, they're like single package characters.
But who are they placating
like,
to?
$5, like heck
like that. We need more of that. Like when I saw I forget if it was Celebration Anaheim, when they did the HasLab like Riva lightsaber.
That one failed, yeah.
I was like, really no, that is not going to pass. And I know that. And I'm not in the toy industry. Like, who are they listening to? Is it a bubble of Star Wars fans on Twitter that made Reva seem bigger than she was in popularity? Like, how do you make that? If they made a Ben Solo lightsaber for HasLab or something, that would have passed. Like, who is not reading the room at these companies? I don't understand it. And it's like, I sound like upset, and I'm not even a collector, but I know that the success of toys helps the success of the franchise and getting kids into it and all of that. And it just seems like something that they're just dropping the ball on. And we have this every state of Star Wars, we talk about these toys, and it's the same thing every time. Nothing has changed. And let alone the repaints and all that stuff. It's just, I don't know what's going on with these toys. Star Wars used to be the king of toys. It used to be like, oh, the new Star Wars toys are coming out. And now it's just barren, and it's all about these collectors and the exclusives that people are scalping online, and it's just like it's just not fun. And it's supposed to be this fun thing for kids. Like, I would love to watch my son, who plays with action figures. If I pop on a Star Wars thing, he has, Shin and Sabine, and he has them fighting, and he makes up a story, and then he goes into his room and continues the story, and he's like, Dad, I really like this. That's gone. It just doesn't exist.
But why would he do that when he has YouTube and iPad and video
Because he
game?
likes toys, James. I don't know.
No, I know.
Yeah.
My daughter, her favorite thing that I have is it's like a big BB-8. It's like, I don't know, a couple feet big. I got it from Home Goods years ago for like $8. It was on clearance.
Wow.
Yeah. But like, that's an example. Like, I got it because it was $8 because I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm going to get this.
Was it TJ Maxx, you said? Something like that?
Home Goods.
Home Goods.
Yeah. But like, that's something that as a collector, to me, it was like, I found this awesome thing for $8.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
But kids don't care about that stuff. But at the same time, no one in their right mind, as a parent, as an aunt, an uncle, a friend, whoever that is responsible for buying gifts for their favorite children in their life, you can't afford to buy Star Wars stuff for people.
No.
It's so expensive.
Yep.
And it's expensive as a collector too. Like, that's why over the years, unfortunately, I've had to budget myself in the sense of like, okay, what can I afford to get and what can I not afford to get, because everything is so expensive and it's only going to get worse. So I completely agree. I think they're kind of boxing out younger fans that, can't afford to buy $25 figures.
Well, quickly, just for the sake of moving on, I mean, how do you guys feel about the parks, or how do you feel about, one of the questions that was brought up here, or one of the statements that was pulled up on the show was, where are all the Bad Batch figures? We got this animated show, which it seems to me like if you ask like Star Wars fans generally our age, they're like, I don't watch the animated stuff because it's for kids, which we argue against sometimes. But the thing is if it's for kids, then why aren't all of our kids into Rebels and Bad Batch? It doesn't seem like they are. It seems like they're still into, Rey and Kylo Ren and just the same, like either up your animation for a different demographic if you, or do what it's supposed to do and create shows that kids are actually interested in and then sell them toys.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been marketed the best to children in general, Star Wars. I think it's been marketed to us and then people bring their kids to it. I don't think it's the other way around, whereas, hey, mom, dad, uncle, aunt, whoever, grandpa, grandma, I want to go see Star Wars. Everybody's talking about Star Wars because when I was little, regardless of what property or franchise it was me telling my parents I wanted to go see it. Mom, dad, I want to go see Casper. Like, they didn't say, hey, Lacey, do you want to go see Casper? That was me and my friends at school in first grade talking about how we wanted to see Casper. So I feel like, I don't know if it's just me, but I just don't think they've really marketed it well to young fans. And I think specifically with the merchandise and stuff, they've openly said that their main audience is older collectors. So they've tailored their whole business model to older collectors. And they've kind of boxed out these other younger fans. My hope is maybe through the High Republic with the younger books, like the middle school books and the young kid books, children will get into Star Wars. But even then, it's like, where are they going to go after that?
because they're not going to see. I mean, the High Republic stuff. It's not an animated show. It's not a TV
Those
Disney
figures are
Plus
not going to
series.
sell.
It's not a movie. You know what I mean? So even if they were giving away High Republic books to every school in America and the kids were reading them and they liked the characters, High Republic is still, in a way, sort of a dead end.
Mhm.
It's ending soon too, anyway, right?
It's what?
It's ending soon, like the next phase, right?
We're on phase 3, which
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
just got. Thank you to Penguin Random House. I got
Thank
the
you,
Eye of
Penguin.
Darkness, George Mann. Now is the time for the Republic's reckoning. Now is the time we show them what it means to be against denial. Dun,
Great
dun,
character,
dun.
and it's unfortunate he lives there and only there.
Right.
Well, who
right.
knows what the future holds? All right. I know we are up on time. There's a lot more we can get into for sure. So we probably only have time for one question.
Well, we should take some. What do we got?
Sarah Glover, what up? Or do we want to do the intro first?
We
My
don't have
bad.
to do the
Oh.
intro.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do the intro. Woohoo!
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
All right, Anakin. All right. Sarah asked, "Will Jaleel White be playing Hondo in Skeleton Crew?" No.
No?
No.
That is interesting. I didn't
no.
even hear that. Is that a rumor?
I don't think so.
I
I
think
think
I think she just threw that out there.
Because he said he's in it, right? So she's
Yeah.
saying,
He's in
let
it,
me think
yeah.
of who it could be. Sarah, that is great, speculation. I that's awesome. I didn't even consider that, but I would say no. I would think that they would probably use the voice of Jim Cummings
Cummings.
and have someone stand in.
I can't see. I think he's just one of those actors that was really famous at a specific time, but is not doing anything right now to the level of like, oh, he's so good and underrated. They're giving him this big opportunity or anything like that. I still feel like he's probably just in the show in the background. Especially too, he came out and he said he was in it. He's probably thinking it wasn't that big of a deal because he's like a background character, whatever. If he was involved to the level of being a character like Hondo, I think he would know more about like the do not say anything contract, you know?
Right. Yeah. He's probably just like, I walked in this scene once.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I would kill just for that, to be like,
Yeah.
hey, I was in this scene.
Playing
but-
a pilot named Steve Verkel.
Sarah, that was really cool though. That was a great question.
If it comes true though, we're
wild, yeah.
we're blowing Sarah up. what she
Sarah,
called it.
you're getting all the credit.
All
We
of
do
it.
have a super chat from Fort Worthy. And hey man, what's up?
Hey.
Nice photo. Looking sharp. He said, TRB, y'all are the best. No,
Thanks, man.
You're the
I have
best.
Appreciate
I have a
it.
friend that is just super talented at creating things. He recently created an app where you take a picture of yourself, like you take a couple photos, and it will like make business photos for you using like AI and generative content or whatever it is. But yeah, his stuff is so cool, man. You take a couple pictures of yourself and all your photos look like that. They look great. Like, that's awesome, dude. You're wild.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. That takes us to the end of the show. So first off, we want to thank everybody, whether you joined us live or you're listening on your favorite podcast app. Thank you so much for being part of TRB. We hope you enjoyed the show, our take on the state of Star Wars. So we got into movies, TV, history, action figures, merch, books, and there's a lot more to talk about, which we will check in on our winter edition in 2024. But we hope you enjoyed this discussion. Let us know what you think about our thoughts. What are your thoughts on the state of Star Wars? Hit us up in the comments on YouTube or, of course, on social media at TRB Podcasts. And, of course, you can email us, resistancebroadcast@gmail.com. We brought up Patreon before. If you are able to support us, hop over to the site. We have a lot of exclusive content we put out just on there. We also have a Discord server if you're souring on certain social media platforms for our tier 3 and up. patrons, a lot of stuff, commentaries. There's a tons of stuff over there as a thank you for your support. So head to patreon.com/resistance broadcast. Tier start at just $5. We appreciate it. If you're not able to, totally cool. But if you're able to support us, it's a good time. And in my opinion, one of the better Patreons that I've seen out there. Special shout out to the Generals and Spice Runners on our Patreon. Carmelo, our longest running general. I think he's been with us for 5 years. Carmelo, John RISI, JETTA, ROSEWATER, Frank Grande, Nick KRATZ, Chris Morales, Brian Smith, Matt CHITTY, DANI, Mike RUMORE, Matt HEATH, Brendan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Colin Cormier, Jolt and Jetta, DiMaggio, Diana and Dave Hornack, and the Spice Runners, David PROBUS, Neil SHAH, KENDALL, GELNER, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, Michael Fry, and the THEFORTWORTHIAN. For me, Johnny Hoey on social media, my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. And yeah, we'll be back Monday to talk more Star Wars. Lacey, how about you?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gilleran and on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran. And you could also find me this past week on Children of the Watch.
Oh, you took it. I was
teamed
going to
up
say
with
it.
those buddies over there to give our Star Wars pitches for an original TV show. So that was really fun. I'm not gonna lie, I said in the show, I still stand by it. I was super nervous because I went out of the box with that one, but I'm interested to see what you guys think. So definitely hit us up on social and let us know whose did you like, what was interesting.
Yeah, it was a good
Let me
time.
know.
Good time. It was a
It's
good,
for
good guys.
sure. It's like a bonus episode of Resistance Broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good time. So thanks, Alex and Mac, for having us on. Although Mac, hope you're feeling better, dude.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
James, where can people hit you up?
So social media at Myra Trunks, MIRAHTRUNKS.
All right. James and I will be back with you all on Monday to dive into some of the latest news, among other things. And thank you all so much for being a part of TRB, listening and watching. And we will see you next time with another episode. So have a wonderful weekend. And until then, see you around, kids.